tonight, when Trump speaks, he's going to float a plan to deport 15 million to 20 million illegal immigrants. Are you okay with that?
Yes,
Yeah,
120% coming to this country.
illegal immigrants in Franklin, Pennsylvania that are there, and they probably just given them everything they want.
What if this plan necessitates some sort of violence? What if you have a town with 300 police officers but 10,000 immigrants?
Calling the National Guard. That's what they're
You want
for.
to mobilize the National Guard?
Mobilize the National
What about the images that come out of families being torn apart when they're not criminals? What if there's a young girl who's being torn apart from their family? You're still okay with mobilizing the National Guard?
I am still okay with it. What about the poor children that were separated at the border or left behind or just used to come across that they have no clue where those children are?
No, it's absolutely terrible, but I think that when a family is in the United States and they built a life, I think that the imagery of deporting 15 million people, also the effect on our economy, don't you think that would...
I think they're going to concentrate on the felons first. I mean, they let all the bad people from the other countries are in here first. They're not going to go after families the first thing. They're going after the people that are causing the problem.
How do you differentiate those? So say there's a dad who caused a crime and he's got like a wife and daughter.
You take it one case at a time.
One case at a time.
You know, of course you don't want to separate the families. You've got to take it one case at a time.
So how are you going to do 15 million cases over the course of 4 years?
How did they let 20 million people across the border in the case of 3 years? Same thing.
This was over the course of a while.
It's one plane at a time. It's one bus at a time. You get them out. They're bringing them in one plane at a time. Take them back out.
Do you support his plan to deport 15 to 20 million immigrants?
Yeah.
All of them?
If they came in illegally, they should be deported.
Can I ask you, even if it necessitates violence to deport 15 million people? Because it seems like it would, right?
I don't think he would let it get violent.
No. Well, when people see inevitably their families being ripped away, as half of them are here legally, half aren't, and the labor force starts to be short because people are being deported en masse, don't you think this could cause problems in cities? Like, imagine Springfield, Ohio. If the police force tried to deport those 20,000 Haitian migrants, don't you think it would get violent, inevitably?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
Interesting.
All the violence comes from the left, so...
Yeah,
we don't try and shoot people.
Mm-hmm.
We don't riot. We don't burn cities down.
Yeah. Except for the one time on January 6th, right? When it comes to the 2020 election, do you still think it was stolen?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So do you think was Mike Pence justified in what he did on January 6th when he certified the election results?
Hell no.
No?
Hell no.
You don't think so?
He did what he felt was right, but there's a lot of people thinking he didn't do what was right. He should have invoked the 12th Amendment of the Constitution and then pull that out to let every state have one representative. The states were disagreeing with that, but he still certified it. So he did what he felt was right. A lot of people don't agree with that.
Well, Donald Trump already brought these 60 different court cases and lost every single one. And then Mike Pence said, Trump asked me to put himself above the Constitution. He asked me to put fake slates of electors in different states to subvert the will of the American people. Can you see where Mike Pence is coming from there?
Do you believe what Mike Pence said?
Yeah.
More so than Donald Trump, yeah. So can I just...
Do you still live at home in your parents' basement? Are they supporting you?
Do you think the 2020 election was stolen?
No.
Does it ever worry you when Donald Trump tries to make up claims about widespread election fraud, and then on the election night, he took the stage and declared victory prematurely before the votes were counted?
When he prematurely declared victory, I think that was wrong. I think that was just wrong.
After that, he doubled and tripled down.
No, I know, so I think he's wrong, and I disagree with him on that. And what I've always told people is that, do I think it's wrong? Yes. But I also believe that our country is the foundations of our democracy are so strong, and because I always hate when everyone's like, the democracy. It's like, you guys have 2000, 2004, 2016, you guys have objected to your fair share of elections as well. And
not in the same way, though. We didn't Hillary Clinton conceded right away. Nobody's made up widespread claims.
What I'm saying is, there are members in Congress who were trying to do the same thing that they did in 2020, and the only reason why...
But not disrupt the peaceful transfer of power in the same way. Like, what Donald Trump did was call Raffensperger on the 3rd.
I'm a big Brad Raffensperger fan.
Yeah, and that's great. So he called him on the 3rd, and then when that didn't work, 3 days later, he held a rally at the exact date and time that Mike Pence was certifying. So you can connect all these dots.
So
right?
I believe that if you're going to talk about January 6th, I think that Trump is not responsible for January.
Donald Trump said the election was going to be stolen before it happened, and then on election night, he prematurely declared victory when the votes weren't even counted. He then took 60 different court cases, lost every single court case. Then, Bill Barr, Mike Pence, Ivanka Trump all said there's no election fraud, so who do you trust more than our courts, our institutions? Rudy Giuliani? What's your source of election fraud is my question.
I saw actual data that night. I watched that election for 12 straight hours.
Why did the courts reject that data?
Because I think some of the courts are false as well.
But they were Trump-appointed judges, so Trump-appointed fake judges, or what?
You got to look at all the data.
We've looked at all the data. All the data says the election was legitimate, completely.
So it's your word against mine. It's whatever you want to believe.
Wait, can I say? Wait, no. Can I say real quick? It's my.
We live in the United States. Everybody has their own opinion.
Yeah.
That's what it's
That's
about.
beautiful. Well, can I say? You say it's your word against mine, but it's my word, our court's words, the FBI, the DOJ, Bill Barr, Mike Pence versus you, Trump, and Rudy Giuliani, and Mike Lindell. So do you think Rudy
a
Giuliani?
lot more people than
Do you think Rudy Giuliani is?
the DOJ, the FBI, in my opinion, are corrupt.
But Bill Barr.
Whatever they're telling
Who
you.
appointed Bill Barr though? Trump appointed all of these
and then
people.
he fired them. He fired people.
So he's hires the best people, but he hires them and then fires them immediately, right?
Good. Because he found out the
People
truth about
deserve
them.
to get fired. I'm sorry, you shouldn't be placed in a position because of what you know or who you know. You should be placed in a position because you qualify
So
for
you
that.
have no evidence that the election was stolen beyond feelings.
Oh, no.
Well, nobody talks about May 29th. So
What was May 29th?
when they firebombed the White House and Trump was forced into the presidential bunker.
Yeah, it's terrible. I hate political violence.
Yeah, and that was all the left. But he talks about
But
that.
I'm sure Joe Biden would condemn that, right? He would say that's not
he
okay.
didn't condemn it.
I'm sure he did or would.
Yeah, but why do we keep bringing up January 6th?
Well, because that was stoked by
One
the
police
president
officer
directly.
died after the fact. They keep saying that police officers were killed during January 6th. They were not.
Can I give you my opinion, genuinely?
Sure.
We can remove the police officers dying. My problem with January 6th is that Donald Trump said the election was stolen over and over and over, and that led to people being there on the day they're certifying Joe Biden's win, and then
He told them to peacefully protest.
after months of saying your country's being stolen, everything is rigged, and then he never called Mike Pence to see if he was okay, and now Mike Pence said, this guy puts himself above the Constitution.
He doesn't put himself above the Constitution.
So when he tried to submit-
he wants to bring the Constitution back.
Well, he said
Free
he wants
speech,
to terminate.
not censoring everybody.
He did say he wants to terminate the Constitution on Truth Social. Did you see that one? Or what?
He's not going to terminate. The Democrats are the ones terminating the Constitution.
How so?
Because they're censoring free speech. All the censoring on Facebook with COVID, like that was all the Democrats.
We also know that as of a couple weeks ago, I think the House committee released the documents on it. He wanted to mobilize 10,000 National Guard troops to be able to have
didn't he,
peace.
though?
No, he did, and he tried to, but Nancy Pelosi shot it down.
She doesn't have the authority to do that.
As the Speaker of the House has power over security.
Ultimate authority goes to the commander-in-chief. There's a few things that I want to point out. If Trump never told the lie, which you admit is a lie, that the election was stolen with widespread fraud, if he never told that lie, do you think the people would have showed up to the Stop the Steal rally to stop the steal?
I think, look, people would have still protested and been upset, but nowhere near like that big of a
So
protest.
Trump's rhetoric that he started before the election by saying there's going to be mail-in ballots rigged, there's going to be mail-in ballots rigged, I feel like you can make the argument that that directly led to people walking on January 6th to the Capitol from the Ellipse. He held a rally walking distance,
yes.
too.
No, yes, that did cause the rally on the Ellipse, and that's perfectly, I think there's nothing that you can say against that, but I think the whole point is that that rally at the Ellipse was pretty peaceful. It was what happened on the other side.
I know that Trump said the word peaceful a few times, but it's like almost you're cherry picking the word peaceful and ignoring the months, the year of election fraud claims that he made. And
I don't think it was a year. I think
he said before the election for let's say 6 months before the election, if that's fair. But can I just say one more point? Foundational to democracy is an educated populace, having people that understand the institutions at play.
I agree.
And what Donald Trump does is undermine every institution around him. So he says,
I don't know if he undermines every.
well, he says that the election is rigged, and then after he lost the following court cases, he said those courts were rigged. And then after he lost the court case in Manhattan, he said that court case was rigged. He says Mike Pence is now a rhino. I was talking to someone earlier. They don't trust Mike Pence. They don't trust the FBI, the DOJ. They don't trust anybody except for Donald Trump. And I said, how do you live in this reality? I said, how do you live in this reality where Trump is your only source of news and you
I don't know if I don't think Trump's the only source of news.
well, it's like Newsmax, OAM, but they only trust stuff coming from Trump, and that goes against having an informed populace, which is foundational to our democracy. When it comes to January 6th, do you think the election was stolen?
I think there was some corruption for sure.
But when Donald Trump,
I mean, there was a clip on CNN where they were doing a broadcast, and there was clearly somebody behind them stuffing a ballot box.
my problem is
That's illegal.
it should be illegal for sure.
Those votes shouldn't have counted.
My genuine problem is that Trump made claims of millions and millions of widespread voter fraud, votes being cast illegally, right? And when he brought that to court, every single court, with Trump-appointed judges, said, "Hey, man, there's no fraud." People around
They
him
didn't say there was no fraud. They
did. They
didn't
said,
want to hear the case.
No, they said there is no standing, which means that they're asking for crazy remedies. Trump wanted to flip the state of Georgia entirely with no evidence
he
at
asked
all.
them to recount the ballots. And
They did. They did 3 risk-limiting audits in Georgia.
There's a lot of stuff coming out right now about Georgia.
4 years later, after he brought it to court, so if they did 3 risk-limiting audits, which means they read it, or they checked him over and over and over and found no fraud, how do you trust Trump over like Raffensperger, over Kemp, over all these agencies?
How do we trust the government knowing they're doing all the corrupt stuff that they're doing right now?
And really quickly, as I'm sure you can imagine, the coverage coming out of these past few debates has generated a lot of buzz, a lot of competing narratives, competing headlines, which makes it difficult to know what information you can rely on. And that's exactly why I reached out to Ground News to sponsor this video, as I love their tool for simplifying the news on polarizing stories. I use it every single day because Ground News is a news aggregator. They don't write their own stories, but they gather related articles from around the world into one place, one clean page, and then they give you context about each source's political leaning, each source's factual reliability, each source's ownership, and much more. And that lets you compare the coverage with additional context. A prime example is the media coverage following the Trump-Harris debate. There were 750 international and local sources covering the story, but if you analyze the coverage with the additional context, you can see some biases that you wouldn't see before. Take a look at The Blaze, a right-leaning news source. They said, Kamala Harris's top 5 falsehoods in Tuesday's debate. The Federalist, another right-wing news source, took it to the next level. They said 25 lies Kamala Harris told in her debate against Donald Trump. But if you look at a left-leaning news source, Sask Today, they say experts say Harris dominated in debate performance against Trump. ABC News is left-leaning, but they take a middle-of-the-road approach and say Trump refuses to commit to second debate with Harris, saying she wants to because she lost. So it's really interesting that you can see how each source skews the coverage, and it's also crazy because a lot of these right-leaning outlets don't even cover Trump's worst debate moments, and that's why Ground News has a blind spot feed. The blind spot feed shows you stories that certain outlets aren't covering, stories that are being disproportionately covered by one side of the political spectrum. So Ground News has been invaluable for me during all of the noise this election cycle has produced, and I think it will be for you too, especially with all of these competing headlines. So if you're serious about staying informed, head over to ground.news/AM and you'll get 40% off the Vantage subscription, which gives you unlimited access to everything Ground News has to offer, and that is what I use. So by subscribing, you're not only getting a better way to consume news, but you're directly supporting my work. So scan the QR code or go to ground.news/AM. Thank you guys.